were gentlemen. I mean, they weren't assholes. They were nice men, but they were hardcore. They were hard-working men.
Generations have been shaped by Sam Elliott's deep, gruff voice, strong, rooted, and definitely Western. He wears cowboy hats, mustaches, and a tough guy attitude, but there's something new and interesting going on behind those masks, an anger that has been building up for decades. After 60 years in the business, Sam has won the respect of both fans and filmmakers. He'll never forgive 6 names, though. He didn't like actors who lied about their work, crossed him, or showed disrespect behind his back. He didn't say anything for 4 years. He can no longer hold it in at age 80, and you will never look at those people the same way again after hearing who was on his hate list. Sam left the set and never came back because of the first name, Kevin Costner. He couldn't stand that cowboy. Being real has always been important to Sam Elliott. He has always told the truth in everything he has done and said. Sam wasn't a cowboy. He was one. Born and raised on farms where dust, discipline, and the harsh rhythm of the West shaped them. He brought something real to the screen. His voice sounded like leather. His eyes showed how many years he had lived. He was real, so people believed him. Sam wasn't pleased when he saw Kevin Costner cast as a cowboy in Wyatt Earp and then as the rough ranch head in Yellowstone. He thought Costner was like a Hollywood cowboy. They had shiny boots, great lighting, and said lines that sounded like they came from a script instead of a person. Sam once told a friend that he acts like a cowboy all the time. It seems like he's trying to be something he's not. Many people liked Yellowstone because of its beautiful photography, tense drama, and Costner's gravelly voice, but Sam Elliott just rolled his eyes and left. On the screen, Sam Elliott didn't see the West he knew. He thought what he saw in Yellowstone was a perfect dream. It was a frontier made for people who had never driven a post into hard ground or woken up to the smell of cattle and dust. That's how he saw the West, through a postcard eye, all clean and filtered. Later, sources said that Sam was even offered a small role in the show, but he turned it down right away. His tone was harsh, and his words were short. It looks like a Western soap show. It wasn't just about the story, though. It was a message, a quiet, clear rejection of what Yellowstone stood for. For Sam, Westerns were more than just fun. They were an honor code, a sign of values like toughness, honesty, and quiet that meant more than any words could ever say. There was no reason for the West to shine. It was meant to mean something. He thought Costner's version was all production and finish, style without heart, beauty without strength. The air became cold even when the two men were in the same room. They never yelled, but the silence between them could freeze a desert, one producer later said, and that tension was just the beginning. Then came the power of the dog. In 2021, Sam Elliott shocked Hollywood when he went after the highly acclaimed movie and its star, Benedict Cumberbatch. There were no polite words or phrases used. His words were direct and sharp. They were like a gunshot in a quiet bar. They came out of nowhere, echoed, and were hard to ignore. Sam wasn't just upset about the movie's pace or artistic choices. It had more to do with than that. He thought that Benedict Cumberbatch, who was fancy, British, and well-behaved, had no place in the American West. Sam told everyone about it. Sam Elliott didn't hold back at all. He made fun of Benedict Cumberbatch's accent, the way he stood, and even what he called a dairy version of a rancher. It wasn't the kind of criticism that you would try to hide on a press trip. It was the kind that stays with you. What the heck does this British person know about the West? Sam laughed during an appearance on a show. In his words, there were equal amounts of irritation and doubt. It came back quickly and hard. People who like Cumberbatch and believe in the power of dogs came together to defend him. Social media caught fire overnight. Critics called Sam a throwback from a bygone era and said he was too stuck in the past to adapt to how the genre was changing. They said he was a gatekeeper who stuck to an old idea of what it means to be a man that didn't fit with current stories. Sam didn't move, though. He didn't say sorry. He didn't walk it back. It was like a cowboy watching a storm coming across the plains. He stood his ground and didn't move. He didn't think the dog's strength had missed the point. Everything the Western stood for was hurt by it. Sam thought the movie made weakness look cool, turned strength into dysfunction, and turned the West's moral core into an unethical psychology study. It wasn't just about one star or movie. It was important to Sam Elliott to protect a heritage that was based on men who didn't have to explain themselves, on scars that told stories, and on silence that spoke louder than words. Cumberbatch never answered in public. People close to him say that the intensity of Sam's words hurt him softly. Behind the scenes, leaders at the studio talked about how to respond politely, maybe with a calm statement to lower the tension. But in the end, Benedict picked quiet over show. Sam, on the other hand, didn't move at all. He stuck to everything she said like a gunfighter who had already taken 10 steps and fired. He saw the West as more than just a genre. Being honest, tough, and respectful of what it meant to truly belong there were important parts of that creed and way of life. Sam Elliott wasn't going to let anyone, no matter how well known or respected, change the meaning of the art he had spent his whole life working on. If what he said about Benedict Cumberbatch made a fuss, what he did next would make Hollywood even more upset. Ashton Kutcher was his next target, because he thought the actor had made acting look bad. Sam never cared about fame, likes, or being able to sell his acting skills. Truth, patience, and discipline were needed for this holy calling, not charm, business sense, or brand deals. He thought that every act had to come from a real, honest place. Samuel wasn't thrilled by Ashton Kutcher's rise to fame on that 1970s show, his smooth performance in glitzy romantic comedies, or his new life as an investor in Silicon Valley. He was hurt by it. He didn't like seeing someone use the craft he loved as a sport, a game, or a way to get attention instead of telling a story. Still, Sam didn't say anything when Netflix put them together in the house. His professionalism, which was something he had always been proud of, showed up. He did his job, and hit all his goals. But it wasn't long before the cracks showed up behind the camera. Crew members remembered how quiet they were with each other. Heavy, shaky, and almost electric. Even though Sam never made a scene, his anger showed when they talked quietly. "He's a good guy," someone heard him say. That wasn't what worried him about Kutcher, but he's no actor. It was how he did it. Sam thought Ashton was the worst thing about the new Hollywood. In this world, algorithms would replace instincts, social media measures would be more important than skill, and appearance would be more important than personality. Sam thought of what other people called growth as decay. He did not see this as development. It was wearing away. The slow breaking down of something holy. He thought that shortcuts and shiny covers were watering down the art of writing in order to make it more marketable. People saw that the two of them got along on TV, but Sam knew the truth. It was only a show, nothing more. In interviews, Kutcher was always polite, and he called Sam a legend and a guide. But when they weren't around, Sam had a much less positive opinion. He behaves like someone who learned acting from YouTube. He supposedly whispered to a friend. It wasn't resentment, it was principle. Sam Elliott wasn't clinging to a grudge. He was holding his ground, defending a code that valued calm over theatrics, substance over showiness, honesty over hype. In his view, Hollywood had exchanged authenticity for attention, and that to him was unforgivable. Sam Elliott wasn't about to let anyone, no matter how celebrated or acclaimed, rewrite the meaning of the craft he had devoted his life to. And if his remarks about Benedict Cumberbatch stirred controversy, what followed would rattle Hollywood even more. Another name had once shaken his world: Nicolas Cage. Loud, unpredictable, excessive. For Sam Elliott, subtlety had always been the guiding star. He believed that truly powerful acting didn't need to scream. It simmered. A lifted eyebrow, a heavy silence, a single word carrying the weight of a lifetime. That was real strength. For Sam, the heart of performance lived in restraint, the kind of quiet force that doesn't demand attention, but earns it. So when Nicolas Cage burst onto the scene with explosive energy, wild gestures, bulging eyes, emotions leaking from every edge, Sam didn't see genius. He saw disorder. To him, Cage wasn't becoming a character, he was performing himself, a one-man circus, flashy, loud, and exhausting. Even when they worked together on Ghost Rider, Sam kept his distance, always courteous, always civil, but never warm. In later interviews he never named names, yet his words were sharp enough to make their target obvious. He spoke of actors who hijacked the screen with ego, turning every moment into a personal stage play, bigger, brasher, but emptier. Those close to Sam didn't need to wonder. They knew he was referring to Cage. To a trusted friend, Sam once admitted, "He's more firework than flame, bright, loud, and gone in an instant." While Nicolas Cage built a cult following through unpredictability and manic energy, Sam Elliott stayed anchored in what he believed mattered most: control, depth, and a steady, enduring burn. Sam always believed that true power in acting came from drawing the audience closer, not pushing them away. To him, Nicolas Cage represented a troubling shift in modern cinema, a craving for shock over story, spectacle over sincerity. What once was art had become performance for its own sake. And though Cage won awards and critics applauded his brilliantly unhinged energy, Sam never accepted it. In his eyes, no golden statue could hide hollowness. Because for Sam Elliott, real acting was never about noise or virality. It was about truth, stillness, and the quiet humanity that makes a performance breathe. Those were the qualities he believed Nicolas Cage had long since abandoned. Jeff Bridges, the friendship that went cold. There was a time when Sam Elliott and Jeff Bridges seemed carved from the same stone, rugged, grounded, soulful men who could say volumes without speaking much at all. They didn't rely on fireworks or lengthy monologues to command attention, they simply existed. Their power came from stillness, from that quiet magnetism only a rare few actors possess. When they shared the screen in The Big Lebowski, they were electric, two halves of the same coin, perfectly balanced in rhythm and presence. Off camera, their bond seemed just as sincere. They laughed together, traded stories, and built a friendship rooted in respect and a shared belief that simplicity was its own form of strength. But, over time, something shifted. Not overnight, there was no argument, no fallout, just a slow, subtle distance that slipped in without either man naming it. After Jeff Bridges won his Oscar for Crazy Heart, Sam began to notice the change. The man who once radiated humility, a quiet craftsman who let his work speak for him, started appearing in glossy magazines, walking red carpets with political slogans, and doing polished interviews. He became harder to reach. Someone close to Sam said, less grounded, more curated. To Sam it felt like the Jeff he knew, the one who valued truth over trend, was fading, replaced by the sheen of Hollywood's machinery. The simplicity they once shared, that sacred belief in authenticity above all else, seemed to disappear under the glare of fame. It wasn't envy, it was disappointment. Sam Elliott built his life on the idea that integrity is the one thing a man can't afford to lose. Watching a friend drift from that ideal hurt him in a way no critic or co-star ever could. In a rare interview, when asked about former collaborators, Sam gave a brief, almost cryptic reply, but the intent was unmistakable. Some folks change, he said softly. Others just show who they always were. Many believed that line wasn't just reflection, it was a message, a quiet nod to Jeff Bridges. Jeff never answered. True to his calm nature, he stayed silent, but the silence between them said more than words. They stopped appearing at the same festivals. They no longer supported each other's projects. The brotherhood that had once felt unbreakable simply dissolved. For Sam, the loss wasn't about ego or rivalry, it wasn't jealousy over fame or politics. It was personal, deeply personal. The pain came not from betrayal but from erosion, the slow fading of a friendship built on shared values and mutual respect. What was once a connection between kindred spirits had turned into a memory wrapped in regret. Insiders said Sam felt abandoned, not because Jeff had wronged him, but because he had drifted into a world Sam no longer recognized. And that quiet ache, that sense of losing a brother, stayed with him. But even that heartbreak would pale beside what came next. Because the final name on Sam Elliott's list wasn't a rival or a friend. It was a symbol of everything he believed had gone wrong in Hollywood. Jared Leto. The method gone mad. For Sam, Hollywood's greatest sin was never ambition or boldness. It was pretension, the kind of inflated self-seriousness that turns art into theater for the actor's ego rather than a story for the audience. Acting to him wasn't supposed to scream for attention, it was supposed to dissolve into truth. So when Jared Leto gained attention for his extreme method behavior, mailing dead rats to co-stars, living in character for weeks, turning sets into endurance tests, Sam didn't see dedication. He saw theatrics. A performance about performing. He wasn't impressed by the Oscar or the media frenzy it sparked. He was irritated by the spectacle, by how it celebrated excess instead of essence. That's not talent, Sam reportedly said once. That's theater pretending to be art. And when Sam said something like that, he meant every syllable. Behind closed doors he was even harsher. If it takes that much effort for him to act, he told a friend, maybe he's in the wrong business. To Sam Elliott, true acting never needed shock value. It didn't need chaos or controversy. It was about stepping into a role with quiet discipline, humility, and respect, not turning the process into a carnival. Acting for him was sacred. It was about truth, not tricks. And in that belief Sam stood firm, steady as ever, the last cowboy in a town that had long forgotten what real storytelling looks like.